Yeah, we're saying basically use Furia as a distraction and her mana efficiency. Okay. A 3/3/3 challenger is really, 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 really good. A 3/3/3 challenger is crazy. When you play this on turn 3, your opponent will have to not play whatever engine they want to play. Like, your opponent will often not be able to play. So a lot of people misplay this. When you play Fiora on turn 3 or turn 4 or whatever, you're supposed to not attack with her. Because you're going to play Fiora. If you're attacking on odds, you play Fiora on 3. They are going to pass because they want you to attack first, right? And then you pass back. And then your unit is stopping them from playing a unit on turn 3. That's pretty good. Depends on the deck and the situation. Sometimes you take that attack. But the point is, like, people are misplaying that aspect of it. That's really, really powerful in what Challenger can accomplish as a thing. And a second thing she accomplishes is when you run the deck with some amount of judgments. Again, between like 0.4 and 1 judgment, right? Some amount of judgments, not a lot. You run less than 1 judgment in your deck, okay? By doing that, you force your opponent to not be able to make certain plays in the late game. If you happen to have a Fiora on the board after like round 6, they cannot open attack into you with more than 2 units. They will lose. Even at a really, really, really low amount of judgments in your deck. Less than 1 is 0. You can run less than 1 judgment in your deck. So what I mean by that, so let me explain, because that sounds kind of counterintuitive, right? Less than 1 judgment in your deck. Okay, so let's say there's 100 Fiora decks on ladder, and 40 of them are running 1 judgment, and 60 of them are running 0. Like, they're all running 0.5 judgments. If I'm playing against a Fiora deck on ladder, and my opponents are running 0.4 judgments, then I will not be able to make attacks in a lot of late game scenarios, right? That's what I mean. When you run less than 1, so I've thought about this in the past, which is the idea of basically, I call it quantum deck building, which is like, if I publish a deck list, like, the idea is you would basically, for a certain card, like pretty rarely, but you would have like 1 or 2 slots be slightly shifted. Like, if I publish a Fiora list, it wouldn't be built around Fiora. But I might say, like, between this slot and this slot, literally, like, roll a 6-sided die, and if you get a 1 or a 2, run Judgment, and if you get a 3 or above, don't run Judgment, right? And then everyone who's running the deck will have a higher win rate because of it. Because people will have to play around Judgment even when Judgment isn't in your deck, right? That's kind of the most important thing. So that's what I mean by 0.4 judgments. So again, even if you're running less than 1 judgment in your deck on average, or if you want to do this as a player yourself instead of kind of teaming up with other ladder players, you can, if you want to, you can personally alternate like how many judgments you're running per game. Like, if you did want to do that. I don't think there's kind of enough of a reason to do that. Like, you as an individual should be either playing it or not, usually. But the point is, you don't even need to have judgment in your deck most of the time, and the opponent will still have to play around it. That's really, really, really huge, right? So if you have Fiora, you play it on 3, it's like a 3/3/3 challenger, which is a crazy, 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 crazy body. This 3 attack, what is it? Lorient Protege? This 3 attack makes her so much better than Lorient Protege. The ability to be able to, like, there's so many units, there's so many engine units that have 3 health. Let me just, like, search 3. Look at all these units that need to keep alive that have 3 health. This is actually not a lot right now. So let's see, like big meta threats. Because there's so many things there's very few things that have 2 health. And like when you're playing with Mystic Shot, you realize like how few threats you can actually kill with 2 damage. Like, you can kill Callista, you can kill Zed. Like, those are 2 units you have the ability to kill. There's 3. Oh, it doesn't actually count the stat number. Oh man, so I can't even search 3. Never mind. Okay, but like, champions are an example. There's a lot of champions that have 3 health, but there's also so many things. I mean, Weirding Stones used to have 3. There are so many like important engines. Just in terms of specific units. So you look at like the one in like Stun Recall at 3 health, the one in Ephemeral at 3 health. Things that you just need to keep alive. There's like the Prankster at 3. That's probably a bad example because Prankster herself is a little weak. Crimson Disciple, you just instantly blow up at 3. We already mentioned like Fade Twirly. I mean, I can go through like basically all the archetypes and show you all the 3s. If you've been playing the game or watching the game, you know how many things just exist at 3 health. But the point is, like, things that have the ability to deal 3 damage are a lot better than things that deal 2 damage. More than 50% better, because there's so many 3s to remove and there's so few 2s, right? And that's why Get Excited is actually a decent card. Like, when you look at Get Excited and when you compare it to Mystic Shot, it's like, it looks so much worse because it's a discard one and it costs 1 more mana. And, of course, you kind of do want to play this only with discard synergy, but the ability to deal 3 is so much bigger than the ability to deal 2, right? So you've got like the 3/3/3 challenger. You drop on 3. You block them out of a developmental play. There's a lot of decks that open past round 1 and round 2. If you slam Fiora on 3, they have to either float their mana or play into you. As the meta resolves, as people get smarter about challenger and how it works, and when you're at a top level, how it's going to work is I'm going to play Fiora on 3, and my opponent will have to play a unit that Fiora can just kill. Because they'll realize that if they pass, I'm going to pass back and not let them play a unit at all, right? And obviously it depends on the situation, but that's a big deal. And again, in the late game, anytime you're in that late game scenario, let's say we're on turn 6. Okay. So Judgment costs a lot of mana, right? It costs 8 mana. Okay? But when you think about it, at a high level, when people play more and more and people understand more that open attacking is very good, anytime after like turn 6, if you have Fiora on the board, they can't attack with more than like 3 units. Because they're going to be attacking on turn 1. That's what you want to do in this game. In a lot of situations. Not all of them, but attacking on action 1 of your attack turn is usually what you want to do. If you have like 1 or 2 reserve mana, like starting turn 6, they can no longer really attack into you. Even if you don't have Judgment in your deck. Or even if it's a 1-of in your deck, right? Like, it's a very, very, very efficient card for what it does. I'm sure it'll get at least a little nerfed, and I'm sure it'll still be a good card when it is, unless they really, really nerf it. But that's kind of like how Fiora as a card is supposed to be. And again, there's going to be a lot of people that are going to say Fiora's trash. They don't mean Fiora as a card. They mean Fiora build around, like, Shen Barrier all-in decks. And yes, those decks are trash. That's true. But don't confuse the two things.